What is good, guys? This is Steven with All Talk On, and today I have another build for you guys. I know I have been AFK MIA for a little bit. That is because I have had a cold and my nose is still stuffy, as you can tell, but I'm still trying to do a video. So if you hear a cough or a sneeze, it's because I'm only 3 days into this horrible sickness, and my nose is all chapped and my lips are chapped, and I just feel like crap. So anyways, but I couldn't hold it back. I had to put out some form of something, you know what I mean? Some form of build. So I went with a $550 budget. There is $28 in deals right now that is happening. So, do what you can, I guess. Hold on, I have to cough because, I'm sick. So as you can tell, I'm still kind of dying a little bit and bleeding inside my chest, but it happens. So we're looking at $543.93 with $28.99 as a promo discount, which might wear off pretty soon. Hopefully not, but I'm going to put the build up anyways just so you guys can see what you're looking at. I am totally excited for Black Friday. I will probably be bringing my laptop and or my tablet to work, so that way on lunch I could sit there on my tablet and start ordering some stuff. I might bring my camera to record a little bit and I don't know, just for the hell of it, show you guys what I'm looking at. Maybe show you guys some of the deals. The only issue is I might not be able to get to upload it till the deals are already over. But basically, I'm just going to make a $550 build that you guys can keep an eye out for parts. Maybe the prices will change by Friday. Who knows? Anyways, we're going to hop right into this. We're looking at the Intel Pentium G3258. So I went with this processor, and for the first time, I'm going into this with overclocking in mind. Believe it or not, guys, I'm going all in. I might as well, you know what I mean? We're looking at 3.2 gigahertz clock speed, 2 cores. There's no hyper-threading, but it is on the Haswell refresh architecture, and honestly, when it comes down to it, it's not about the cores, it's about the architecture. So this is just overall great. It's low, power consumption, so it's always low heat. You're never, like I said, you can overclock this thing to like 4.5 gigahertz on the stock cooler, 4.4, 4.2, which is just outrageous. You can also do it on cheap motherboards like the B81, B85 chipset. Of course, I like the more stability, so I will not be testing on those. Well, I will eventually probably end up testing that, by the way. I'll explain that later. Anyways, basically I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to recommend you guys something that wouldn't work. If you are looking in for cheaper motherboards, look through Asus. They have a lot of B85 and H81 and all those whatever chipsets that are overclockable on the H97. Basically, though, you're going to be looking at doing a BIOS update for almost all of those, so keep that in mind. But BIOS updates aren't that hard. Look into it, you guys. It's not that bad. So, of course, we're looking to overclock this. So now we have the cooler. I have the CPU cooler, Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo. Now, I did just purchase this. I do, not technically I own it. I guess it was my roommate's Christmas present. But this is an amazing cooler. Obviously, you guys go for the Evo, not the Plus, because as you can see right here, the Evo has the copper coils meshed together, touching each other instead of having gaps in between them, which make for more sufficient cooling, I guess, or efficient transfer of heat to those pipes. So go for this. It's only $5 more, and in fact, actually, I think it might, yeah, it's only $5 more. I'm not going to count a $5 mail-in rebate, because who the fuck would do that? Who cares about the mail-in rebate? But anyways, he has an i5 4440, and his temperatures are never bad at all, ever. They're pretty damn low. This is definitely one of the top rated air coolers out there, and I could probably say one of the most purchased coolers in general. I mean, we're looking at a 4.6 average with 1192 ratings. That's how popular this thing is. Definitely one of the most popular coolers out there, recommended by tons of builders, not just me. Next, we're going to the motherboard. We have the BioStar Hi-Fi Z87X3D. I did go with BioStar because honestly, BioStar is a really good brand. They're just very underrated and underused. A lot of people just overlook them and hop straight into the Asus or MSI. I have heard a little bit of trouble with people having with the MSI motherboards, especially on their Intel chips, as well as some people having issues with throttling down when overclocking. So I kind of tend to stay away from MSI. I don't personally know for myself. I did get an MSI motherboard, but for my roommate, and it is a Z87 chipset, but the issue is his i5 is a 4440. It's not a K series. It's nowhere near an overclockable i5, so that isn't going to be able to be tested on his. But like I said, I like to chip out the extra money for this motherboard, just because it's a guarantee overclock. It's going to have the cooling heat sinks on the MOSFETs and all that good stuff. It's going to be able to handle heat better, even though the Pentium G does not require much voltage at all. So as far as heat goes, you won't have to worry too much. But it's always nice just to get that extra stability to make sure that it is going to work. So we're looking at least a 4.2 to 4.7 gigahertz overclock is what I would be looking at. Honestly though, you can look into cheaper motherboards. Like I said, Asus has some really good ones, and even AceRock, MSI. Of course, do your research on the motherboards before you purchase them, but there are some $40, $50, $60 motherboards you can overclock this on. Just it's questionable on how far you're going to be able to go on it, honestly, as the stability of the motherboard is questionable. Okay, so this thing's got USB 3.0 headers, my favorite, 6 out of 6 gigabit per second, supports Crossfire, does not support RAID, has 32 gigabytes of max memory, and supports DDR3 speeds from 1066 to 2800 megahertz, which is super intense. 2800 megahertz, you don't even need it. Don't even worry about it. Just don't. And we're looking at the Intel Z87 chipset, of course, and it is the LGA 1150 socket, which is interchangeable with the i5. And like I said, that Pentium G with the Haswell refresh, it's just a monster of a CPU. Even though that this thing costs more than the CPU, this will make the CPU worth more than the motherboard, because you have that nice Z87 chipset with that nice overclocking stability. I'm not going to say feature because a lot of things have it nowadays, but stability is what we're going to say. Next, we have the RAM. We have the ADATA XPG 1600 megahertz, 8 gigabytes, 2x4, cast latency of 9. Just your standard RAM. ADATA's XPG basically is their budget RAM, and it's amazing for its budget RAM. If you are looking to check in, spend a little bit more, like $2-3 more, you can go with some G-Skill. They have the regular G-Skill, they have the G-Skill Value, and the G-Skill Aries, which usually rough around anywhere from $69.99 to $71.99. So I haven't really been going over prices, sorry guys, but the BioStar was $79.99, and the ADATA memory, we're looking at $69.99. I hate it when I do that. Sorry, I'm kind of out of it right now, though. I'm sick and I'm in a hurry. But anyways, next we're going to the 1TB Seagate Barracuda 7200 RPM, 32 megabytes of cache, SATA 3 gigabit per second. It doesn't have 64 megs of cache, and it isn't SATA 6. I'm sorry, but it was a lot cheaper. Honestly, I did shoot under budget, but that was because of sales. But if you're looking to pick anything up like this soon, you can definitely throw an extra $10 towards this and go for the SATA 6 with 64 megabytes of cache. But that's totally up to you. Either way, if you're probably not going to notice the speed difference anyways, unless you sit there and compare both of them and bench test them and stuff. But other than that, you're probably not really going to notice. So 1TB, enough to save all your stuff. Seagate, trusted brand, not a problem there. Next, we're going to the graphics card. Now, this is where I really squeezed out most of the budget for this build. Now, I didn't go with the most reputable brand, but once again, like BioStar, this is definitely an underrated brand. A lot of people use this brand. Just not many people do reviews on them. I mean, a lot of the people that do reviews, you guys see, they're always, sorry, I'm like coughing up a little bit. They're always getting the high-end, most ridiculous things they can get their hands on, 295X or 780 or a friggin' Titan, a 980 or a 290X. They're always getting these crazy things. They rarely do budget ones. You know what I mean? I've seen a handful of budget ones, but I've never seen the off-brand budget. No one ever gives them a try. Now, this is a power color. I have actually seen the power colors pitted up against several of NVIDIA cards and do just as well as if it were an MSI or an Asus. So I don't think you have an issue. We have an R9 280X, or just standard 280, I'm sorry. It might be overclocked because it says overclocked. Sorry. Yes, it is overclocked. I see it. It is overclocked, but it's only overclocked 5 megahertz. It's 280 has a standard core clock of 850 megahertz. This one's got 855 megahertz, but it does have a dual fan, which definitely means that it's probably got a better cooler than your reference cards, and you'll be able to overclock this one at least to, like, I would think at least 900 megahertz. But we're looking at, 3 gigabytes of GDDR5, which is definitely helpful for higher resolution gaming, though I don't know if the Pentium G is going to be the thing to take you there, but this will definitely overkill any game you want to run regularly with graphics, maxed out, whatever you want to do. We're looking at $189.99, and then there is $48.99 free promo. I feel like that's lying to me, but we're looking at a price of $189. I think it takes off $20 is off right now, so it's actually on sale for $169.99 instead of $189. There is a $30 mail-in rebate, but I'm not counting it. So we're looking at a price of $189.99 or $169.99 if you buy it now with the deal. So Power Color, like I said, they are great. Go ahead and look up the reviews. I doubt you guys will find anything bad. And now as for the case, for some reason it's not popping up, but it is back, you guys. It is definitely back. We're looking at the Deep Cool Tesseract SW. Right now it's only $34.99. It was a little bit more expensive, but I saw it drop back. It's only $5 more than it originally was, which I still think that $5 is worth it. Honestly, I would pay a max of maybe $40, $42 for this case if I couldn't find anything better. But when it comes down to being $30 or $35, this case is definitely worth it. We have USB 3.0 header, 4 internal hard drive bays, and 2 optical drive bays. It's an ATX mid tower that supports ATX, micro ATX, and mini ITX, and it is black and blue with 2 fans, LED, one in the front, one in the back, and supports a maximum video card length of 12.2 inches. So definitely, I mean, you guys know this case. I've used it like 10 times. Next, we had the power supply. So I did overshoot our power supply just a little bit. We're looking at a total estimated wattage of about 362, but because the 430 watt was only $5 cheaper than the 500 watt, I ended up going with an EVGA 80 plus certified ATX power supply. NCIX has it for $39.99, which is definitely a decent buy. It is not 80 plus bronze, but you're running a fairly low wattage system. Besides that 280, I'm not gonna lie, that thing is a monster, which is why I recommend overshooting it, because this is not an 80 plus bronze efficiency, it's only 80 plus. So it's always nice to overshoot it so you have that clearance and headroom. As far as overclocking goes, I doubt you'll be pushing too much wattage into the CPU. The CPU can bump up pretty hardcore with minimum voltage. It's ridiculous how nice the CPU is. So this is my build. You guys already know the EVGA power supply. There's really not much to go into it. It's non-modular. Good luck with all those wires. But basically this is my $550 build-ish that I was mostly looking to put together an overclockable 3258, not just a 3258. If I was just going to do just a regular 3258, I would go extreme budget and just get $350 budget. You know what I mean? There's no point in overclocking your Pentium if you're not going to stuff in a higher graphics card. And basically that means you're going to be stuffing in more money into a motherboard and a graphics card, which means you need to raise your budget. Now, if you're not looking to overclock at all, then cut the BioStar down, you know, to a $50 motherboard, and also you can also cut the Radeon to like an R7 260X or an R9 270 or the R9 270X or even the R7 265, which I mean, either way, basically what I'm trying to get across is if you're not going to overclock this motherboard and not put the extra money into a nice cooler, a nice motherboard, and a nice graphics card, there's no reason to overclock it. You might as well just go extreme budget. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to actually post one where I am encouraging the overclocking on this. Usually I don't, so I'm kind of throwing you off guard, I guess, you know what I mean? Keeping it real, keeping it fresh. But anyways, guys, that is my $543.93 build. Without any of the discounts, we're looking at $568. It's only $18 over. It's not too bad. But you know, there's some things you guys can switch out to make it definitely cheaper than that. But this is where I was going for, and this is a monster of a PC. You guys will be smashing through games like crazy. Some people doubt the 3258 in games like Crysis, and they doubt it in games like Battlefield, but go ahead and watch people benchmarking it in those games. Go ahead and watch people's frame rates while they play those games and recording. It's like an OMG, what the hell, you know what I mean? And don't expect to be necessarily, I mean, maxing, you know, the anti-aliasing out or anything like that, your MSAA. Don't expect to be maxing stuff like that out. But as far as it goes with like maxing most of your graphics out that are mostly dependent on the graphics card, you will be perfectly fine doing that. But like I said, with things that have to do with your CPU, you might have to keep it on medium, but it definitely will game on medium, and a lot of games it'll do high and ultra. Just like I said, those newer titles are a little bit more demanding. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's only 2 cores. Well, not necessarily. I mean, it has the fact to do that it's a $70 CPU. Um, those games are optimized for multiple cores, but as you can see, a 4-core processor in Battlefield does better, as you know, the i5 4690 or whatever 4690K will outperform an AMD FX 6300 and an AMD FX 8320, even though those are 6 and 8 cores which are optimized for it. But that just goes to show you that cores, it doesn't matter if it's optimized for the cores or not. It really doesn't. It does just come down to will it play it or not, and this thing will play it. And it's that Haswell refresh architecture in there that's just killing it on this dual core. I am going to be picking one of these up, by the way. I have decided on my little brother's build. I'm going to be going with the G3258. I'm going to be going with a cheap motherboard. Like I said, this is where I'm going to practice seeing what I can overclock on. I'm going to pick one of the cheap non-Z overclockable motherboards. And I'm going to try and update the BIOS and overclock on it. I will be probably getting a Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo for cooling, as well as I'll probably only go with the 260X. I don't think I'm going to go too hardcore because I don't know how much he's going to play it. So, but anyways, guys, that's my $543 build. This is Steven with All Talk On, and I'll catch you guys later.